Well, for more on this, we're now joined by Chief Economist at the Efficient Group, Dawie Roodt. Dawie, it's been a while. Good to talk to you.
Very nice talking to you, Peter.
Yeah, not a great subject, though. Break it down for us. Why are we in so much pain?
Well, there are many reasons. I think in the short term, we can talk about things like, for example, the war in Central Europe and the increase in the oil price because of that, and the increase in the food prices because of that. We can also talk about the slowdown in economic activity globally and rising inflation globally. So those are all contributing reasons why the South African economy is also suffering and why the economy is growing much slower than it can, in fact, be growing. But let's be honest, Peter, the main reason why the South African economy is suffering is because of the wrong macroeconomic policies, because of a government that's been implementing the wrong kind of things, a government that's been mismanaging the South African economy for many, many years. And I think Eskom is only one example of that. So yes, although there could be many reasons why we are going through a very, very difficult time and why things are probably going to get much worse, I think if we point our fingers to one specific institution, that institution must be the ANC government.
So are things going to get worse?
Yes, things are going to get worse. The economy, the South African economy, I've made some rough calculations, and based on the expectations of, say, a stage 4 load shedding, the economy is unlikely to grow faster than, say, about 2%. Of course, it's not a straight line thing. It can sometimes do a little bit better than 2%, sometimes worse. But with a stage 6 or maybe even a stage 8 load shedding, the economy is unlikely to do better than, say, about 1%, 1.5% or so. That simply means that we will see an increase in unemployment and an increase in poverty. And in this environment where poverty is going up and where people are unemployed and with food prices going up, especially, and energy prices going up, I'm afraid this is quite a toxic mix. So I am certainly very concerned about all of this. The answer to this, of course, is strong political leadership to do the right sort of thing. And I'm afraid our political leaders are just simply absent. They're not there to lead the country, and they're not there to lead the country because there's so much infighting in the ANC that I don't even think that they are aware of all the issues and the problems that the South African economy is experiencing. So I think the answer to your question is that we will probably have to wait at least until after the next general election before we will get some real political leadership, hopefully.
It's taken us quite a while to get to this point, so logic would dictate that it takes quite a while to reverse. But what can we do in the short term that can give us, at least put the brakes on or something?
Well, on an individual level, what you need to do is to be, wherever you are, realize that we are heading for some difficulties. Whatever industry that you find yourself, try to identify those risks that are typical to you in your industry. Try to manage those sort of risks. And try to be prudent. That means have a budget and try to make plans as far as you possibly can. As a country, I'm afraid, I can't answer that question because we have a government that's caused all this, the mess in which we are in mostly. And until we fix our political issues, there's not really much that we can do about fixing the issues in South Africa. As an economist, I can tell you all the easy things that need to be done. It's not, you can ask any economist the answers to the problems that we have in South Africa, and the answers are fairly easy. And there, in some instances, we are taking those easy steps, like, for example, the South African Reserve Bank. The Reserve Bank has been increasing interest rates. That is exactly the thing that they must do. They're probably going to continue increasing interest rates. But that's only one thing that we can do. There are many other things that need to happen as well. For example, I know that the employees at Eskom are demanding huge increases in their salaries.
Hello, Dawie, do you want to just check your mute button?
Hope you can hear me, Peter.
Oh, yes, I can hear you now, yeah. All right, so...
Yeah, okay, so... Yeah.
I was just wondering.
Yeah, well, other issues.
Yeah, carry on.
Yeah, other issues like, for example, the civil servants are demanding more than 10% increase in wages. They are overpaid and underworked as it is. But, we know these sort of things. And in order to address these sort of things, we need strong political leadership. And we don't have that. So I think that's the issue. We've got an issue as far as political leadership is concerned.
We're seeing fuel going up. And I suppose, by and large, there's not much we can do. Although there are debates about how that fuel price is made up, and that there's elements in there that we can control. Does the energy price have to go up?
Yes. This is a long debate, and I think there are many issues that we need to cover when you talk about the fuel levy as an example, because I think that's what you're referring to. And just by the way, so the fuel price is probably going to go up about R1.80 or so a litre anyway. And if the reduction of the fuel levy is reversed, we're probably going to talk about the fuel price increase in excess of R2 next month. And there's really not much that we can do as a country. We can make some changes, some minor changes here and there, but we're talking about 20 or 30 cents a litre, maybe even R1 a litre, but not much that we can really do about that. In fact, the fuel levy is one of those, is the fourth most important revenue source to the Minister of Finance. And all taxes are always bad, but the fuel levy is less bad than many of the other taxes. So if your intention is to limit the damage to the economy, then you should rather reduce company taxes, as an example, and actually increase the fuel levy. So the short answer when it comes to the fuel levy, there's really not much that we can do about the fuel levy. The international oil price is high, the rand is weak, and that's it. Somebody needs to pay for that, and it's going to be you and me.
What about the electricity price? Is that something that we can manage, or that also has to go up?
No, there's much that you can do about the electricity prices. We should have done this a long time ago. Electricity, Eskom, the disaster called Eskom, has been coming for decades, in fact, been coming for the past 20 years. And we know the names, the people that have been involved in this. What we should have done a long time ago is break Eskom into smaller parts. We're trying to do that now. Allow private sector participation in electricity generation and distribution. That's what we should have done a long time ago. We are getting there slowly. But the question I always ask myself is, why do we have to wait until number 99 before we do the right thing? Why couldn't we do this long time ago? In the meantime, what we have is the civil servants, or rather the trade unions in South Africa, that are, well, I believe, far too protected, and they are basically determining the odds here. They are demanding increases that are completely out of line, and we, the consumers in South Africa, are simply suffering. The reality also is that there are far too many people working at Eskom, and that, generally speaking, that Eskom workers are also overpaid. And the answer to that is simply to break it into pieces and sell Eskom off and get private sector participation.
I'm I'm at a loss for words because of all the things that you're telling me. But at some point, it's quite obvious that we're going to see social unrest, because food insecurity, unemployment, all of these factors. This is something we must prepare ourselves for.
Exactly. I've been pointing this out all along. I've been saying, in an environment with exceptionally high levels of unemployment, with very high levels and rising levels of poverty, in this environment where food prices are going up, this is a toxic mix. And we need political leadership to be aware of this. Because what we saw last year, something like that can be repeated. We have to be aware of this. Unfortunately, we do not have political leadership, because the ANC is busy with infighting. The ANC is busy with securing their own future or individual futures, but they're not interested in leading South Africa or leading the South African economy. There's a bit of a good news, however, Peter. I did mention the South African Reserve Bank. The Reserve Bank is doing an excellent job. In the meantime, commodity prices are relatively high, which is good for the current account, the exchange rate of the currency as well. So those are all good news factors, certainly. But this is not going to last. we need to put measures in place to make sure that this economy can grow over the medium and longer term, because things are not going well out there, and I am extremely concerned about things like, for example, social unrest.
All right, so what will happen to our rand, and by the end of this year, where will our interest rates be?
Well, I think interest rates going to go up by another 1%, 100 basis points. The next move by the Reserve Bank, in my view, is going to be 50 basis points, and thereafter 225s, maybe a little bit more. The rand itself, like I've said, the rand is actually supported by a current account surplus at the moment, and also because of the Reserve Bank being quite prudent in terms of monetary policy. So I'm not too concerned about the exchange rate of the rand, and I'm also not too concerned about inflation. Inflation is probably going to go up, but we're not talking about 8 or 9% inflation. We probably talk about 7 or 8% inflation in South Africa. So it is a problem, but not as bad as in the case of the United States. So I think we have a bit of a window of opportunity where we can address certain issues in South Africa. But I'm afraid that's not going to last. In a year's time or 18 months' time or so, commodity prices probably going to start coming down, the rand will come under pressure, and then it will be business as usual, and that's usually not pretty. But in the meantime, for now, there are some factors certainly, factors that are certainly playing in favor of South Africa, like, for example, commodity prices that are relatively high. But that's not going to last forever.
Dawie, thanks very much indeed for talking to us, and let's hope that the politicians listen and move briskly. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Peter.
All right, that's Chief Economist at the Efficient Group, Dawie Roodt. Yeah, and this is all at the back of, we're going to see huge price increases in fuel. The electricity is going up, and you've been watching the food prices go up on time. Dawie reckons that we can point to government and the politicians for a lot of that pain.